First, let's start with this case. My significant other has a big problem with being impatient. We recently completed construction on a new house, so we're currently splitting our time between the old house and the new one. While at the new house, we were doing various tasks to get it ready for the move. During this time, I decided to run a load of laundry while we worked. By the time we finished our tasks, there were about 10 minutes left on the wash cycle. When I told him this, he became irritated and yelled at me for doing laundry during our visit. He said he didn't want to wait 10 minutes for the cycle to finish so I could transfer the clothes to the dryer. I explained that if the wet laundry sat in the washer overnight, it would develop a mildew smell. We had driven separately, so I suggested that he could leave and I'd follow in the other car once the laundry was in the dryer. However, he refused, saying he was hungry and wanted me to come with him immediately so we could eat as soon as we got back to the other house. Translation: he wanted me to fix him something to eat and didn't want to wait the extra 10 minutes. Tired of arguing, I gave in and left with him before the laundry was done. The next day, when we returned to the new house, the laundry was predictably stinky from sitting wet overnight. Frustrated but feeling cheeky, I decided to take a different approach. I rewashed my clothes but left his items as they were. After drying his stinky clothes, I folded them and put them away. Now, every few days, he pulls something out, notices the unpleasant smell, and complains, saying, "Ew, this shirt smells bad." I simply smile, nod, and reply, "Yep, I told you that would happen." Was this a petty or malicious move on my part? Am I wrong for leaving his clothes as they were? Or was this simply a case of justified compliance given his refusal to wait? Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. 10 minutes to make sure the laundry can be dropped in the dryer is minimal. If you're in between houses, there's always something to fill that smidgen of time. But is this weird tantrum behavior typical for him? Not for nothing, but that seems like it would be hard to tolerate. Why does he get to decide you don't spend 10 extra minutes there? He's clearly an idiot. But if you're at the point of this sort of pettiness, I really question the choices you are making too. To let him boss you around because he can't fix himself a snack. You're not in the wrong. While this was slightly petty on your part, it seems like you do a lot of kindred keeping, aka the mental and emotional work women take on by doing all the planning, emotional reasoning, and house labor. Also, you told him what would happen, and he was being impatient and unreasonable. You should try having him make a few meals a night or do his own laundry, and then maybe he will understand what it is like to be you. Next up, I, 28 Mem, recently transitioned from a long-distance relationship with my girlfriend, 25F, to living together after several months of dating. Before she moved in, we only visited each other one weekend a month, but stayed connected through daily calls and texts. She moved in with me about 6 weeks ago. For context, I am white and my girlfriend is black. We both live an active lifestyle and enjoy working out, hiking, and biking together. A few weeks into living together, I started noticing something about her hair care routine. After she worked out and showered, her hair would remain dry and braided. I know that many women don't wash their hair every day, so I didn't think much of it at first. However, as time went on, I realized she still wasn't washing her hair, even after a week or more. I love her hair. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I admire her natural curls. But I started noticing a smell coming from her scalp that I associated with buildup. Personally, I am very sensitive to smells, particularly the smell of an unclean scalp. For me, hair care involves washing every 1 to 2 days to avoid that smell, so this became increasingly difficult for me to ignore. After a total of 5 weeks without her washing her hair, I decided to address it. Admittedly, I might not have handled the conversation as tactfully as I should have. I asked her directly when she last washed her hair, and mentioned that it smelled bad. This upset her immensely. She immediately reacted by accusing me of being racist and ignorant. She explained that black women's hair is very different from other hair types and doesn't require frequent washing because it can become overly dry and damaged. While I acknowledged that I understood black women's hair requires different care, I expressed that I didn't think it could stay clean indefinitely without washing, especially after exercising regularly. This escalated the argument, and she began calling me racist, ignorant, and insensitive. She also accused me of not respecting her or understanding her cultural differences. I tried to explain that my perspective wasn't rooted in racism, but in my lack of knowledge about black hair care. I grew up in a predominantly white area and had little exposure to the routines and practices associated with different hair types. Since that conversation, things between us have been tense. She has started washing her hair every day, which she says will damage it, and she blames me for making her feel insecure. Despite my repeated apologies, the situation has not improved. I did not call her disgusting directly, but did feel disgusted by the smell. My exact words were something like, "Hey, when was the last time you washed your hair? To be honest, it smells a bit bad, babe." She had not washed her hair for 5 weeks prior to the conversation. After our argument, she began washing it daily. Question: I understand that I handled this poorly, but I don't believe my actions or words were rooted in racism. Ignorance, perhaps, but not malice. I would appreciate an outside perspective. Was I wrong for addressing this, and how can I approach this situation more sensitively moving forward? Let's start judging. Black girl here, depending on her hair type. Yes, hair care is very different. Curly hair is usually washed 1 to 2 a week, but 4A to 4C hair is washed once every 2 weeks and once every 3 weeks in braids. Also, we use different moisturizers that can smell strange if you're not used to it. I don't doubt that maybe her hair was smelly considering your active lifestyle, but the way you went about it was wrong. Also, if you can't handle someone not washing their hair for 3 weeks, especially in braids, then don't date black girls. Our hair just doesn't need to be washed as often, unless she is sweating a lot activities. I also hope she stops washing it every day, because that is not going to end well. Edit. Everyone who keeps bringing up the 5 weeks, please understand that it is an edit, and when I commented on this post, it was not there. Thank you. How did I immediately know this was about a black woman, Lowell? Listen, you're in the wrong for how you approached this as if she is dirty, etc., instead of asking about her routine to learn more prior to judgment. Black hair has historically been demonized as dirty and smelly because it doesn't require the same wash protocols as Caucasian hair, etc. It's a deeply cultural component of the black experience, and you'd serve yourself well to do a little online reading on the subject. I also suspect that her hair doesn't smell or have build-up to the extent you're portraying, given the significant differences in black hair texture and oil production and the way it deals with sweat. Your admitted sensitivity to dirty scalp has me wondering if you're amplifying the issue because you expect someone to wash their hair more frequently than she does. I also wonder if what you're smelling is in fact black hair care products that support a healthy and clean scalp for black hair. I'm Black Asian with very curly, coarse hair, so I will tell you a bit from my perspective. Generally, people with curly hair are encouraged to wash infrequently, as shampoo does dry out our hair, and the after hair wash routine can take hours. That being said, the scalp is still skin, and it can affect hair growth if it is not cleaned, maintained properly. I wash my hair when it feels right. For me, this is twice a week, but it is different for everyone. It should never get to the point where those around you are noticing a smell and your scalp is flaky and itchy. This is just neglect. Keep in mind, I have type 3 curls, and I'm assuming your GF has type 4 hair since you said it was in braids. There are ways to wash/refresh the scalp without taking the braids out to keep it smelling and feeling fresh. You can read more about curl types in your own time. I think it might also be a good idea to talk to other black ladies in your life to get their perspective. I personally don't think it is racist of you to be disgusted by a dirty scalp, but it may have been ignorant with the way you worded it. She also jumped the gun by immediately calling you racist and insane, so I'll say, everyone sucks. Next up, I had a TikTok go viral recently, and the comments suggested I share this story here. Here are the details. Our wedding was over a year ago. It was a small, classy event, and every guest was someone we are related to by blood or marriage. We decided against allowing plus ones to focus on creating a meaningful bonding experience. Both of our families traveled from different countries to attend, and our stateside relatives were also included. This story involves one of those relatives. About a month before the wedding, my third cousin started dating someone new. I saw their relationship status on Facebook, and shortly after, he called me. During the call, I heard a woman in the background asking if anyone on my husband's side was allowed to bring a plus one. My cousin repeated the question, but I cut him off, explaining that the guest list was limited to family only. I also reiterated our reasons for this decision. A few days later, I received a text from him pleading for his girlfriend to attend. The text felt off. It didn't sound like him, and I'm convinced his girlfriend wrote it. She even mentioned she would keep a low profile and bring her own food. About 4 days after our conversation, a family member passed away. While grieving, I made an offhand joke that there's room for my cousin's girlfriend now if she wants to eat the meal they picked. For reasons I can't entirely explain, I decided to let her attend. I figured, what's the worst that can happen? And thought it might be a nice opportunity for her to meet family visiting from across the world. A few days before the wedding, I contacted my photographer with a specific request. During the family photos, if the girlfriend tried to include herself, I asked the photographer to gently request that she step aside. However, I also felt bad, so I asked the photographer to take individual shots of them as a couple for fun. They ended up with over 25 photos together, which felt like a good compromise. On the day of the wedding, I noticed my cousin and his girlfriend at the ceremony venue. She looked nice, wearing a large fur shawl that covered most of her outfit. I didn't give it much thought until I walked down the aisle and got a full view of what she was wearing. She had on a bright Lakers purple microdress from Poster Girl, complete with fishnet cutouts on the sides. The dress plunged below her belly button, leaving little to the imagination. It was shocking, to say the least. When it came time for the family photos, the photographer followed my instructions and sweetly asked her to step out of the group shots. I'm not sure if she managed to sneak into any photos beforehand, but the situation was handled discreetly. That's it. That's the entire story. Am I wrong for asking her to step out of the family photos, especially given the circumstances? Or did I overstep by inviting her in the first place, only to exclude her later? Let's start judging. My now fiancé and I were invited to my cousin's wedding. We had been dating for over a year at that point, and he had met most of my family that was going to be in attendance. At one point, the photographer gathered my family, grandma, uncle, cousins, mom, sisters, their husbands, and I for a photo, and I asked my fiancé to just hang back. He was invited into the photo by my uncle, but I didn't want to make an assumption. All this to say, you're not in the wrong, OP, not even a little bit. Her outfit, though? Yikes. I just Googled poster girl purple dress. I would expect to see that at a fetish club, not an intimate family wedding. Especially not at an intimate family wedding that she wasn't even invited to, and at which she was meeting her BF's family for the first time. People telling you that she could be edited out of the pictures are neglecting to remember how much editing adds to the price. Wedding photographers are already expensive, and photoshopping is generally extra. That's a cost that you shouldn't have to shoulder for a girl you'd never even met before, who was intent on inviting herself. You are not responsible for her relationship or personality issues, and did not sign up to shell out hundreds or thousands of dollars to fix your wedding pictures just because she might have felt slighted by not being included in them. That has nothing to do with her spectacularly inappropriate sartorial choices. You're not in the wrong. You should probably start staying more in touch with that cousin, though, because anyone who chooses to wear that to a family wedding probably makes dramatic choices in other areas of her life. A living, breathing telenovela is a terrible thing to waste. You're not in the wrong. She's only a girlfriend, a few months, and not your third cousin's fiancé or wife. You've got to remember that she wasn't originally invited in the beginning and only came due to a death in the family. She was lucky enough to even be allowed to attend the wedding, nor does she have the right to be upset when asked politely to remove herself from the frame when it came to family group photos. You're the one paying for the photographer, and it's not like the photographer didn't take any photos of her with her BF. They ended up with 25+ photos. She needs to be grateful she attended a wedding with all costs paid for her. Now to her attire. This was a classy wedding, not a strip club. For sure, the invitations sent out would have had the dress code listed on it. So your cousin is an idiot for allowing his girlfriend to attend the wedding with such a revealing and unclassy outfit, knowing full well that everyone attending the wedding was all family by blood or marriage. The girlfriend is also an idiot for even considering and having the audacity to wear such a highly inappropriate outfit. I do hope there were no children at this wedding. If there were, I couldn't even begin to imagine the parents' disgust and thoughts of a woman wearing such a revealing thing to a wedding.